Hey y'all, I hope all is well with you. I'm on for the last book talk. Kekla Magoon. If you do not know that name, I need you to know that name. I'm going to show you some of the things I read by her. And it may be just one book, I can't remember. But I remember reading her before. But sometimes you read authors and you forget, oh, I did read them. So the first book I read by her, and I apologize, this is not right there. I read two books by her. The first one I read by her is How It Went Down. It was so good. Okay, because basically you have a white man who ends up killing a black guy. And it was a young guy. But what throws you off in the story is all the different perspectives. Like from the white guy's perspective, the black guy was stealing from the store and he was trying to flee the scene. Then you hear another perspective. No, he was rushing to get back to his mom because he needed to give his mom something and he forgot his change and the guy was trying to flag him down and say, I have your change. So it's like, what really happened? And there's other people who are involved because the guy is killed by this white guy. And this white guy's fearing for his life. People are protesting. People are out to get him. And you have the many different perspectives of people involved of what happened to this guy who got killed. I'll admit I don't remember names. It's been a while since I read this book. When I say this is a page turner though, and it really, again, the whole Black Lives Matter. We have a lot of books that highlight Black Lives Matters and the protests and what people do, the trial, what the mindsets of people who were involved and knew this young man. You have this one. You have All American Boys by Jason Reynolds, and I forgot the other author's name. You have Dear Martin by Nick Stone. You have The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. You can just keep going down the list. The other book I read by her is called X. I've told y'all about this book before, and if you want to learn more about it, please go on my YouTube page. The link will be in my bio. And pretty much she takes Malcolm X from the time he was a young boy, and she narrates his life. She writes it with Ayasa, and I hope I'm saying that right, Shabazz, his daughter. And they have another one they have written in Betty's perspective, Malcolm X's wife, where they take it from time she's a child. But you really, like, a lot of people couldn't understand when you watch the movie, when you read the book, the different sides of Malcolm X's life. Like, what was his life when he was Malcolm Little? And you understood when he was younger why he did what he did. He wasn't trying to be thug life. He wasn't. But in order to survive, they had to steal. The father got killed. The mother was struggling to take care of them, and she was determined, we're gonna make this work. You see a lot of travesties that came against his family, and so you understood some of the things that he did that totally was, it was totally opposite of who the man he became. And it just showed that change is real. So this is a very good novel. I would strongly recommend. I'll admit there were certain parts that were page turners. There were certain parts, it's just because you were learning his family and the dynamics of his family. How It Went Down was a page turner. The next one I'm going to tell you about, and a matter of fact, I'm going to find a better picture because the picture I have has some graphics on it. I see she has this book that I want to read, and I want to read this one. So those, if they won't be on my shelves, I'll be checking them out online somehow, some way. The Rock in the River. Mind you, I have this book and another book on my shelf that I've been meaning to read for almost a year now. Because what I just did, started snatching books off my shelf. Lori Hewitt was one of those dancers that I wanted to read. And I had these books on my shelf, and I said, I really want to read this because I'm trying to expose my kids what I have on my shelf and expose anyone to what you can read. Page turner after page turner. Like today, I made sure I finished it. It had to be a really busy day for me not to finish this book and not to just sit there. Before I would go to sleep, I would read it. I would read sometimes 50 to 100 pages. It's about 270 pages. So you have the first chapter in the book You have the Childs family. Roland Childs is the father. He's a civil rights leader. Matter of fact, he worked side by side of Martin Luther King Jr. Matter of fact, they were good friends. Matter of fact, he was considered the Martin Luther King Jr. of Chicago in 1968. Is this a real family? No, it's historical fiction. Then you have his older son, Stick, who he's just not feeling this whole nonviolent movement. It's not working. It's moving too slow. We are waiting for them to give us opportunities. We need to just take them. So when the Black Panther Party emerges, he immediately takes interest. You have Sam, who is the younger brother, who he's stuck in the middle because he doesn't know what. No, we got to do what Daddy says. This is what Daddy wants us to do. But in the first chapter of the book, Sam and Stick are in the crowd watching their father talk, speaking, all the points, nonviolence. We have to stick. With God, we can get through this. And Sam, for the first time ever, is like, dude, I just want to get out of here. That's not like him. And Stick was like, if you want to go, we can go. As they are leaving, they are going towards the back of the crowd, and they're just trying to leave. Well, that doesn't happen because immediately there are people in the back of the crowd, white people, who are protesting the non-violent protests. And they're beating up on people. They're hitting people. And Stick sees someone, I think it was like a woman, an older woman. And he stands up for her. And he punches the guy and he hitting him back. Now, let's be real. In the non-violent movement, you're not supposed to do all that. So they end up in the hospital. I know Stick got his face badly cut. I do remember that. And instead of the newspaper posts being about, Roland Childs, this great speaker, encouraging the people to do this, it's spotlighted on the brothers and how they got caught in a scuffle. So Stick is getting to the point where he doesn't want to live in the house. And even Dad even threatens, if you can't follow what I do and what I say, you're going to have to leave. And that's what Stick does. But he's shot because the Stick actually left. And it causes a rift between Stick and Roland. Okay? So then you have Sam, who, as he's growing, he's getting older, he misses his brother. He starts gaining interest in the Black Panther movement. And you can tell he doesn't know what to believe. But Stick is quick to check him and be like, I don't think you really understand what we do and how we do it. And I remember one time they got into an argument because Bucky, who I'm going to tell you about in a second, they're helping Bucky with his trial. And they find out that Roland, Sam and Stick's father, is helping Bucky with the trial. And he's going to say, but are we sure we want his help? So Stick takes him to the side, pretty much goes off on Sam and says, do you understand what your father believes? Do you understand what I believe? And the reality is, what he broke down to Sam is that the Black Panther movement and the civil rights movement are not different. We want the same results, but how we get them is totally different. Civil rights, we're going to protest, we're going to stand up, we're going to march for what we believe, and then we will get the laws changed. Black Panther, and I hope I'm articulating this the right way, we're going to get these laws changed. But we're going to make opportunities for ourselves, and we're not going to wait for the laws to change. Okay? So, but Sam automatically assumed that civil rights was nonviolent, Black Panther was violent. And Stick was like, we're far from that. We're even trying to build a medical clinic because you can't get service because you're Black, or it takes you forever to get service and medical attention, or the bills are too high. He said we need to have something where people can come in for free. They were serving breakfast to kids in the projects to make sure they got a meal in the morning. There were a lot of things that Black Panther did, and what it was, he said the reality is people are scared of the Black Panther Party because we are doing something that hasn't been done before. We're willing to stick up for people that we believe in, and we're willing to do it by any means necessary. And people weren't ready for that. So they automatically see it as a hate group and we trying to shoot everybody up. And that's not what the Black Panther Party was about. I'm still learning myself a lot about the Black Panther. And I really do I love this book. I love how it was written. I love the dynamic of Sam, Stick, and Roland. And how you have Roland and Stan and Roland the father and Stick were the exact same people. They just did not believe the same methods. Going back to Bucky. Bucky was a good friend. Everybody knew everybody. Bucky eventually got put out in the street because I can't remember, the father left or something happened to the father, and they couldn't afford to stay where they were staying. So the mom and sister was staying with someone, and Bucky just was on the street, but he made sure he worked and he took care of his mom and his sister. Wherever he could find a place to stay, that's where he stayed. I never forget, he was eating at the breakfast because he was hungry. And one day he's running back to work. He had to go drop off something. He's running back to work, not paying attention. And Bucky runs into 2 officers. This is 1968. So he runs into these 2 officers, and the 2 officers immediately, where are you going? Why are you running? You must be running for something. You must have did something. And the reality is Bucky was just running back to work because he didn't want to be late. They don't even give Bucky a chance to explain himself. You won't got no job. Where you work? And before he can even get the words of them up, they're beating him to a bloody pulp. And Sam and his girlfriend at the time, Maxie, they don't know what to do. It's like they're frozen and they feel helpless. But in the end, they are able to testify in Bucky's trial because they have the nerve to arrest Bucky for resisting arrest. He wasn't doing anything. And it just trips me out when I read books like this. We still dealing with this. We still having cops that are trigger happy. And even if you see the person with the weapon, I fear for my life. You put yourself in this position. You put yourself in this job. Why do we have to shoot to kill? And why do we have to take down people just to do it? And matter of fact, this also reminds me of the documentary on Netflix by Ava DuVernay called 13th Amendment. If y'all haven't watched that, that's the reason why we have some of the issues we have in police. I'm not saying all police are bad. I am not. But there are some issues that we deal with when it comes to how Black and brown people are constantly being arrested. They have they're considered in higher crime rates and whatnot, and in prison, and sometimes it's over nothing. They didn't do anything, but cops can do stuff and mark up papers. And the reality is, until we get more cops speaking up and not caring about the blue but caring about the blood, the red blood, we all bleed red. Until we get people caring more about people and not about me being a brother and about me not outing out my, who's supposed to be my brothers, a lot of things have to change. And it was just a culture. Like, a lot of us are quick to say we can see ourselves living back there during the civil rights time. Now, granted, we don't walk down the street. I don't walk down the street. I've never walked down the street and I've been harassed by a cop. But this is still some streets in America that people can't walk down without being harassed. I was watching a movie. If you have never seen this movie, you need to see it. It's called Black Cop. And basically this cop coming home one day, and he's a good cop. I think he's a good cop. And he gets harassed by other cops. Well, why didn't you just tell us you was a cop? He was trying to tell you, but you stop being hostile. Stop being this. It's a good, y'all. It's on Hulu. So if you haven't watched it, you need to watch that. But The Rock and the River, again, sheds light on our history, where we come from, but where we're honest, we still are. We still are. So, you know how some people don't watch certain movies, they don't want to have to hit somebody in the face afterwards? I'll admit this is one of these books. I'll admit this is one of these books I wanted to punch or hit or just slap, because it was not. I like books that don't have a happy ending because it's reality. In a way, there is a happy ending, but there isn't a happy ending. Like the way things stumble out of control, and the way things progress in this book. Like even the first chapter, I was just like, they are peacefully protesting. Why are y'all hitting them? Why are y'all fighting them? And it's crazy. So if you can pick up a book by Kekla Magoon, do it. Do it. It's good.